Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Miss You Online. Over the past year, we have had to call a lot of audibles when it came to how we have been doing things on Sunday when we're unable to be all together in one place. And the challenges have perhaps caused us to be frustrated, but also it's provided us opportunities to find new ways to worship God. It's important to me that you all know just how grateful I am for all of you. Your willingness to keep engaging and walking with us as we have had to figure so much out together. So thank you. But the world is opening back up and things are moving closer to a sense of normal, or at least whatever normal will look like moving forward. And with that is going to come many more opportunities to start gathering together again as the church. And so this summer we have many opportunities for you to be with people that I'm excited about, to relearn community, relearn gathering, relearn worship in community. And I'm excited to be kicking off a lot of those next week at my house for our next in-person time of worship here at my house from 11 to 1 p.m. But our goal this summer is to provide as many opportunities as we can for you all to be together. With most summers, our Missio communities will be taking a break from meeting every single week. But also, as we have done for the past 2 summers, we are offering a short growth course that we want to invite you to be a part of this summer. And so if you remember from last summer, Daniel led us through our anti-racism course, which was a huge blessing for all of us. And then last fall, we went through Jemar Tisby's book, which is called The Color of Compromise. And so this summer, for our growth course, we are going to be doing a book study on Jemar Tisby's follow-up book to A Color of Compromise called How to Fight Racism. And this is going to be a 6 to 8 week guided book study led by Daniel. It's going to be meeting weekly at my house starting on the week of July 4th. The evening and time are still being worked out. But for now, if you would like to be a part of this book study, we have some of those books that we would love to get to you. So please, get in touch with me at the email that's below and let me know if you would like a copy of Jemar Tisby's How to Fight Racism. And I will definitely make sure to get one of those books to you. I think this is going to be a really great book study, and I think it's going to give us some really practical tools for fighting, the racism that is still so pervasive in our world. So let me know if you would like one of those books and if you want to be a part of that study. Also, don't forget that we have reserved 6 campsites at Buck Creek Campground for Labor Day weekend, which is September 3rd through 5th. We all love camping, right? And there is honestly nothing better than camping together. So we can have between 35 and 40 people this year. So mark it on your calendar and plan to be there with us. It's going to be a ton of fun. One of my favorite stories from last summer was playing that Foursquare volleyball game with everyone. Daniel and Jacob thought that they were really, really good Foursquare volleyballers until they saw my middle daughter Jade lobbing those slow and unhittable serves at them. She dominated. Also, if you've never camped with Mike Jutras, then you are missing something special. He is honestly like the Inspector Gadget of camping. He made us pies, which I honestly didn't even know you could do while you're camping. And then when nearly everyone got stung by bees on our hike, Mike kept whipping out these mystical vials of some bee-soothing solution. To this day, no one knows what was in those vials, but they definitely did the trick. Also, I thought that you could really only cook things like hot dogs while you're camping, but some of you all are simply wizards with food inventions. It's like all you need is a Dutch oven, and then you come up with these 5-star dishes. That was honestly some of the best food I've had in a long time. But you all are simply amazing. All that to say, you won't want to miss camping this year. It's going to be a blast. But before we get started this morning, feel free to go grab that last cup of coffee, and we're going to have some time of worship through music with Tara that I'm excited for. and then I have a short meditation to lead you all through. So thank you for being with us online this morning. I love you all. Take a couple of minutes and go get some coffee and we'll get started. Welcome back. As I mentioned earlier this morning, Tara is going to be leading us in some music, and then we're going to have a time of talking about meditation, and then a few guided meditation prompts to end our time together. And so Tara, go ahead and take it away with worship this morning.
Good morning, Missio. We are going to worship through song this morning. This first song is one that we sang last time we gathered together, the greatest commandment. And the reason that I love this song is because the message is so simple and so beautiful. And I think just sums up what it's all about. So we're going to sing this together, and then we are also going to spend some time worshiping through music in a little bit different way of it just being more open, and I'm going to continue playing, and you can use that time to worship in wherever you're at, whether that's through prayer, through drawing, through wherever you're at, singing. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Let us be known, let us be known by the way we love. Let us be known, let us be known by the way we love. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and Love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Let us be known, let us be known by the way we love. Let us be known, let us be known by the way we love. Love, love, love. The greatest commandment is love. Love, love. The greatest commandment is love. Love, love. The greatest commandment is love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love, love, love. The greatest commandment is love. Love, love. The greatest commandment is love. So for this next song, if you want to sing, listen, and pray, or draw, or just be in this space. We worship you. Thank you that you meet us where we are. We worship you. We worship you.
Thank you, Tara, for leading that time of worship. Over the past couple of years, I've been learning a great deal about the spiritual practice of meditation. So a friend of mine began introducing me to the idea of meditation a few years back, as it was something that I had heard of and marginally tried, but didn't really know much about. We've talked before about how there's somewhat of a false stigma around the idea of meditation in the Christian world, because to some people it can feel like Eastern religions or something mystical, which honestly I find a bit interesting, especially since Christianity came out of a much more Eastern context than Western for sure, but God also himself talks about mystery that's involved in life with him. And certainly that mystery is made known through Jesus. But think about it, in our finite nature as humans, there is still so much that we don't know or fully understand about God and who he is, who is infinite. But as we mentioned the last time that we were focusing on meditation, meditation is not this unknown or scary concept in Christianity. Words like mindfulness and contemplation and being present are actually deeply biblical concepts that have been utilized since the creation of the world as a way to connect with God, to better posture ourselves before God to receive Him, to receive His presence and His love, to better posture ourselves to talk with God, to listen to Him, to experience His nearness. And it's important that we continue to reorient our understanding of meditation and recapture the power and the importance of it in the life of a Jesus follower for a deeper and closer relationship with Him, and then the way that it benefits our minds and our bodies and the relationships around us. This idea of being present or mindfulness in meditation especially has been seen as a scary concept, because I think most people assume that it means that we're seeking the spiritual truth of ourselves and our own divinity, rather than looking for God and His presence in us and around us. But being present or watchfulness or mindfulness, however we want to call it, it's simply the discipline of being present in the moment, of taking full stock of what is really happening all around you and in you, both the good things and the bad things, and then releasing control of all of it to God. All over the Bible is the call to have our minds shaped by God. Meditation and watchfulness is a recognition of and participation in the transformative work of Christ in us. Romans 12 tells us to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. Matthew 26 and Luke 21 both talk about being watchful and present in our prayer. 2 Corinthians 10 calls us to take every thought captive to obey Jesus. The more you look at Scripture, the more you begin to see how our minds have the ability to shape who we are and how we act and our responses to the things that are going on around us. And Jesus would tell us then, if our minds are genuinely that important, which they are, then part of our spiritual practice, our spiritual discipline, should be slowing the world around us so that we can pause and sit in the presence of God and allow our minds to swell with the things of Jesus. The goal of meditation and watchfulness, of being present, is not only to be aware of the present moment, but to discern it and to recognize Jesus' presence in it. And as our minds are being renewed by Jesus, then the shaping of our words and our actions will naturally follow suit. Meditation, though, helps us to make sense of what is taking place right now, both in us and around us, and then to begin to give up control of all of it to God. One of my all-time favorite books of the Bible is Philippians, which is this letter that Paul writes to the churches in this city in Philippi. And all over that letter are these amazing pieces of theology and a rich understanding of who Jesus is and our walk with Him. And so in chapter 4, he has this incredibly important passage. And so starting in Philippians chapter 4, verse 4, it says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. I think one of the biggest challenges of meditation and being present is to make sure that we are not finding ourselves only stewing in our frustrations and pains. We've said all year that it's okay to not be okay, and we mean that. It's okay to feel our challenges, to feel our pains and our frustrations, to feel lost at times in the uncertainty of life. And really contemplating and being present in those moments is important because it often helps us to see causes and effects. It can help us then find solutions. But we tend to be pretty attuned to the moments that are not right or don't go the way that we desire, right? We're often more attuned to our pain than we are to our joy. Isn't this the way that we tend to get into arguments in the relationships that we have? If you're married, you know this full well. I am honestly really bad at using phrases like you always or you never, to which Laura is really good at pointing out it's not that I always do this or never do that. It's just that I notice things more when they don't go my way. And she's right. In relationships, we tend to get into disagreements when we feel like people are not meeting our expectations. But when our expectations are being met, we're not as equally heaping on praise and gratitude as we are telling people when they're wrong, when things are not going our way. I think we tend to do this a lot in life. It's easy for us to notice the painful moments and the challenges, the hard stuff. It's not as equally noticeable to see and experience the good things. Or at least for a lot of us, we have trained our eyes to notice the challenges more than the good. One of the things I love about being a part of Sojourn's D groups that I get to be a part of every single week is that they always ask the same two questions to start each group every single week. What was challenging about your week? That's the first question. And the second is always, what have you been thankful for this week? One of the reasons that we acknowledge our hurts and our pains, our challenges and our frustrations is so that we can release control of those things to God. And meditation can really help us see those problems, those issues and those challenges as real, as a part of our story, but also as things that God is desperately wanting to be invited into. But that's only half of meditation. The other half is to sit and be present in the work of God, the goodness and life that is around us. We've said this before at Missio, but seeing the good around us, even when we are experiencing suffering, is not belittling or ignoring our pain, but rather helping us to see that the pain and challenges doesn't tell the whole picture of our story in that moment. That even in those moments, there are things that are good at work in us and around us. And this is part of what makes meditation and being present so powerful, because it gives us permission to see the totality of our story in the moment, to see all of it. Not to just sit in one aspect of our story while ignoring the rest. And honestly, we do that on both sides of the conversation. So some of us are really good at acknowledging the pain while ignoring the good. And some of us are really good at focusing on the good and suppressing the pain. But see, meditation and being present is the spiritual discipline of sitting in all of it, of acknowledging all of it, how we feel, what we are thinking, what we see and are experiencing. And as we sit in the midst of our complete story of who we are in that moment, we invite God in to be a part of all of it. Which means there's going to be moments when we're meditating in tears because the moments that we're experiencing may be incredibly challenging. But there's also going to be moments when we are sitting in the presence of God with complete joy, singing and praising because we are experiencing goodness. But meditation and being present is about sitting in the depths of our complete story, offering all of it up to God. This is why I love this Philippians chapter 4 passage that we looked at. He first tells us to rejoice in the Lord always, which I assume means that there is always something about God's work in us and around us that is worth rejoicing over. And perhaps it's just simply that He is present with us, that He sees us, that He is near us in all of the moments of our life, whatever those moments look like for us. He does not abandon us in those challenges. And see, that is worth rejoicing over. He then says something that I think we miss and perhaps feel like it just kind of got stuck in there for really no apparent reason, but it's actually so important. He says, "Let your gentleness be evident to all." Now, just to kind of digress a little bit, in our world and probably in the world throughout history, gentleness was not seen as a characteristic of men, but has been more associated with women. Gentleness is defined as being kind and tender and mild-mannered. Men are not gentle. We are strong and powerful and wild. But the truth is, a lot of the Christian and the non-Christian world, there has been a deeply unhealthy perspective on masculinity and manliness. When you read a lot of books that talk about the Christian man, very few will spend much time, if any, on gentleness. Because gentleness has been seen by a lot of the Christian world as not manly. Which is not just an unfortunate posture to have about masculinity, but has also caused there to be a lot of abuse in the world because of that posture. In so many of these articles that I read about what makes a good leader that are really addressing or talking to Christian men, most of them will say things like, be assertive, commanding, strong, and decisive. Almost none of them will say, be gentle, humble, patient, loving. But see, those are the very things that Paul mentions numerous times in his writing, over and over and over. They're the very things that Jesus lived out in His ministry. Gentleness is not a characteristic that Paul is asking just certain people to live into. He is saying everyone should allow our gentleness to be so much a part of who we are that everyone around us sees that. Why? Because the Lord is near. He is near. His Spirit is in you. His presence is all around you. And if the presence of Jesus is in us and around us, then we will begin to look and act more and more like Him, which Paul is saying will overwhelmingly look like gentleness to the world around you. That's amazing to me. The more that we look like Jesus, the more that people around you will perceive that as gentleness. And I'm just going to come out and say it. Men, we need to recapture gentleness and patience, humility, and love in our lives. Not that women do not need this as well, but this tends to be something that our Christian culture has forgotten to teach to men. But see, this is the very posture of Jesus' life, and it needs to be recaptured as a godly characteristic that we should work diligently to make a part of who we are as men of God. But honestly, what does this have to do with meditation? What does gentleness have to do with being present? I think part of what meditation and being present does is it helps us notice when we don't look like Jesus. I've often found myself alone looking at my life and my behavior and how I treat my family, and I think, oh my goodness, geez, I have so far to go to treat them the way that they deserve and the way that honestly looks more like Jesus. And I long for that. I long for gentleness. Meditation helps us notice the totality of our lives and invite Jesus into our lives to shift and change us. Look again at Philippians 4:8-9. This is one of the best passages pointing to meditation and being present. And this is actually going to be what is going to guide the rest of our time together. But he says, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And as you do, the God of peace will be with you. Remember, meditation is not just about acknowledging the pain in our lives. It's also about searching for the good. And as we search, when we find it, we allow our minds to dwell on those things. And what happens? The God of peace meets us in that moment, in those moments, and provides the things that feel elusive but can be found in Him. We find peace. We find Jesus. We find the goodness that we so often miss. The totality of our story is that we actually have a lot of both the challenges and the beauty. Meditation is about sitting in the presence of all of it and inviting God to enter in and take control of all of it. We give the good and we give the bad of ourselves over to God, and He turns it into something that will look more like Jesus. See, that's the point of meditation. That is the point of being present with God in the moment. So for the rest of our time, I'm going to have a series of questions for you to meditate on. And you can think about them on your own, or you can discuss them with whoever is in the room with you. And I'm going to have the directions for each of that meditation on the screen with some music in the background. But I honestly just want us to spend the next 10 to 15 minutes meditating together. And so first, I want you to spend the next 2 to 3 minutes acknowledging the challenges of the past week. What's been hard? What's been painful or frustrating? Acknowledge them before God and each other, and then release them to Him to be in control of. It could be your job or a relationship, COVID, or something else. Give it up to Him for the next few minutes.
When I
during these next few minutes, I want you to now shift your meditation toward the good work of God in you and around you. So think about the things that are true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, or praiseworthy, and thank God for those things and share them with the people in the room with you. It could be a friend who just constantly shows up in your life to bring kindness to you. Maybe you see the beauty of your children and you just want to thank them and God for them. Maybe you need to notice the truth that you are a child of God, loved dearly by Him. Or simply that you have a job that pays for your home. Meditate on these things and thank God for them and share them with the people in your room for the next few minutes.
I come to you in times of trouble. You're
This next time of meditation is going to be our last. And so at the end of this next time, the video will be finished and we'll be done with worship. But I just want you to spend some time praying over all of those challenges you mentioned and then the things that you're thankful for as a family or as a couple. Lift them before God this morning. Thank you guys for being with us this morning. I love you all, and I'll see you next week at my house from 11 to 1 p.m. So just spend this last few minutes in prayer with the people who are in your room with you. Bye, and I'll see you next week.